This is the Chopped Podcast, episode number 7. Good. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. This is the 7th episode of the Chopped Podcast. This podcast is designed for people just like you, bloggers who love food. Each week, I'll be sharing interviews, thoughts, and stories related to food blogging. We'll talk about what works with food blogging and even a little bit about what doesn't. Today's guest is Andrew Levine. He's head of partnership and business development with StumbleUpon and 5by. Today, we're talking about how food bloggers can use StumbleUpon to grow their audience. Look, I know StumbleUpon is a topic of intrigue to a lot of bloggers because we all know it can be a great source of traffic, but it's not as straightforward as something like, I don't know, Pinterest, right? Like Pinterest, we all know you can just throw a photo up on your board and then just sit back and wait for the traffic to come in. I'm just being a little facetious here to prove a point, and that is, Pinterest is not that easy either, really. I mean, it's just that we've taken the time to figure out how to use it. And actually, every social media site or platform has their own nuances and intricacies that we have to figure out over time. So I think the thing is, it's really important to get in there and just figure it out. And as much as, we all want to do the right things for the right reasons, I also know that sometimes it's easy to be motivated by fear because we start to think, oh, I'm so afraid to get onto something like StumbleUpon because it's new to me and I don't know how to use it or whatever. And I know I found myself doing that too. And then I, end up not using it as at all. And so that's why over the last year, I've actually been reaching out to Andrew and asking him questions, maybe some myths that I've heard about StumbleUpon and things that you should do and shouldn't do. And he's been so great at responding to my questions. And that's why I thought I should just have him on the show so you all can hear what he has to say and find out for yourself whether using StumbleUpon is something that you want to do. There's also something extra special about today's show. We've got a giveaway combined with today's episode. If you've ever considered using StumbleUpon advertising before, but you've been hesitant for whatever reason, this giveaway is for you because it has a StumbleUpon advertising gift card included. Yay! Just head over to choppedcon.com to learn more about the giveaway and to enter yourself. Okay, let's go straight to the interview with Andrew. Put on your hiking shoes, slather on that sunscreen, and grab those earbuds, and let's talk about all things food blogging and so much more. Hey everyone, I'm so excited to have Andrew Levine, head of partnerships and business development for StumbleUpon and 5by on the show today. Andrew, welcome to the Chopped Podcast.
Woohoo! How are you? Great to be here.
Andrew, I'm so glad that you've taken this time to talk with me today, and I'm really, really looking forward to talking with you about StumbleUpon and anything else that you want to talk about. But first, I want to start with you, Andrew. How is it that you got to this point that you're at right now?
Sure. Well, again, thanks for having me on today. My path to this job has been, I think, a bit non-traditional. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and
yay, Missouri.
Made my way to the University of Pennsylvania, where I studied economics. And upon graduation, I did the very Penn thing to do at the time, which was to either pursue a job in finance or a law degree. And I chose to work in finance and worked in real estate finance and real estate private equity for a few years. And quickly determined it really wasn't for me. And then around 2008, during the recession, I had sort of a grand opportunity to reinvent myself. And I ended up serendipitously meeting the wine and spirits consultant to Gourmet Magazine, and met him, got along really well, and decided to sort of just see if there's an opportunity to work with him on a project basis. And he really opened my eyes to this amazing world of not only food and drink, but sort of the creative world, the media world, and what started as sort of a project turned into a 3-year business partnership with this guy Michael Green, who's truly an amazing guy, and I learned so much from him. And we had a national events brand called Wine Down, where we put on these non-didactic wine tasting events. We did consulting for a variety of food festivals and food brands, and it was really an amazing opportunity. Did that for 3 years, had an amazing time doing it, but felt like I needed to try something a little bit different, and wanted to get more digital experience. So I was fortunate enough to land a job at Google, where I got to work in my other sort of big passion, which would be sports. So I got
Ah,
to Google around the time of the launch of Google Plus, and got to be a product evangelist and partnerships lead for both sports and entertainment. So I got to work with a tremendous number of, sports entities, professional sports entities, leagues, teams, entertainment brands, and really sort of found my niche, using a lot of things that I took with me from my culinary days, and basically, adding a sort of a layer of digital expertise to sort of that skill set. And after a year at Google, I missed a lot of the scrappiness
yeah.
that was part of sort of a small company. And I found my way to StumbleUpon, which was really this amazing fit, because they had a great product, a strong brand. Again, it was sort of a perfect combination of all the experience that I had, and we have a great team here. My manager is amazing, and the people on the team here are great. And that's sort of the journey I made here. I've been at the company now for a year and a half, and what we're doing and what we've been building over the last year and a half has been truly remarkable, both on the StumbleUpon side, and I know that you mentioned Five by atop the program, which is the first acquisition our company made, and it's a mobile video discovery platform. So we're super excited now from both the partnerships perspective and really just sort of the company's offerings, the kinds of things that we can do now, from traditional content to video content.
Wow, that sounds like a very a meandering but a very interesting path.
No doubt about it. But good food
Yeah.
has always been a constant on the journey.
Yeah, I just have to ask this question. So you said something about finding your niche, and you were describing gourmet wine and sports, top athletes and things like that. I mean, what is the connection there? I'm just curious.
I don't know if there is one. I think that
Okay.
everyone has
Yeah.
their things, and my things have always been food, sports, and sort of creative pursuits.
I see what you're saying. So for you, it was just like finding a way that all of these things worked into your life. That was great.
Totally.
So you and I have been talking off and on for the last year, and I was just curious if you could talk a little bit about the history of StumbleUpon, because I think there's a lot of bloggers in particular that look at StumbleUpon as a major traffic driver, but I don't think that was really the origins of how StumbleUpon began, is it?
Well, it really started as a consumer product, and our
Yeah.
mission at StumbleUpon has been pretty consistent over the 10 plus years that we've been around.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, there's a problem on the internet right now about finding content, and there's great content being put out by a diversity of sources, whether it's the blogging community, whether it's the folks that are called premium publishers, whether it's brands. And the way that StumbleUpon came to be is saying, how do we personalize the web and really the greatest hits of the web for
Mm-hmm.
users? And so that's really the way the company started. The product became popular as a web like toolbar extension, where basically you'd sign up for the site, you tell us what you are interested in, and based upon your interest and based upon how you engage with content, we become better and better at recommending pieces of content from all sources and all people across really a great spectrum of time just for you. And so, the company's mission has always been, let's make sure people come to StumbleUpon to find really, really awesome content that that you're not going to necessarily search for, that you're not going to necessarily find through your traditional social networks. Of course, as time has gone on, the company has evolved, and that means we've added unique features to serve users. We've added unique features to serve publishers, and of course, with the rise of mobile, I mean, we're now living in a mobile world. We've built apps that sort of echo the spirit of the original mission for the company, and half of our Stumble traffic now happens on our iOS and Android apps. If you're not using them, you should definitely download them. They're amazing, and the mobile team at StumbleUpon continues, week after week to add new features to upgrade the apps. And so, like all tech companies, we're never done, but the apps right now are in an incredible place for users and for publishers to really take advantage of.
So I just want to reiterate that half of your traffic comes from mobile?
Yeah, we're now half of our company is mobile, and
that's great.
I think that there's a few reasons for that. I think people, stumbling on the go when you're waiting in line for to buy your groceries, or waiting to pick up your kids for carpool. People are looking to just engage in their interest and find cool stuff, and StumbleUpon presents a really easy way to do that.
So I think it's really good to clarify for especially the major market or audience of this podcast are publishers, so bloggers. But to reiterate that StumbleUpon it has this goal of helping users of the internet to find really cool sites. At least that's how I was introduced to it, is it's a great way of you're just in there stumbling and discovering sites that you haven't seen before, and you just hit stumble and go to the next one and go to the next one. It's really great.
Well, thank you. But
then you also have it sounds to me like what I'm hearing you say is that you've expanded that because you recognize that it's a great tool for publishers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a handful of ways that bloggers, publishers, content creators can benefit from the StumbleUpon community. A lot of these ways, best of all, are completely free. I think that that's another nice thing that we offer. And there's a handful of ways to do this, and I think it makes sense if I can walk you guys through them. That would be probably easiest.
Do that. Yes.
The first is just familiarizing yourself with the platform. Use the platform. Sign up for the platform. Understand what kind of content plays well with StumbleUpon. That means basically Stumble, and those are the kinds of things that our community engages with. And just as a very sort of baseline tactic, just get comfortable with the kinds of things that you're seeing on StumbleUpon. The next thing that I'd recommend is making sure that the StumbleUpon share button or StumbleUpon badge is on all of your content. And the reason that we recommend this is twofold. One is that we're never able to serve content on StumbleUpon unless it's been indexed within our system. And the best way to get our content indexed, but to get your content indexed, is to put the badge on your site, because it allows your community of readers to quote unquote do the heavy lifting for you. Mm-hmm. So, it's super important that your content does get indexed into StumbleUpon. You're able to index your content from your user account or from your blog's account. There's no doubt about it, but it can be a manual process, and allowing your community to help ingest your content into StumbleUpon is a good tactic. The next tactic I'd recommend, and something that we've really sort of presented to the blog and publishing community as of late, is our list feature. A list on StumbleUpon does two things. From a user's perspective, it works similarly to a pin board. Mm-hmm. You can create a list to save your favorite stumbles. So if you're a food blogger, it's pretty common to see people create lists around recipes or recipes I have to try, maybe there's lists around specific ingredients or products. For me, I like to save links for social media. I like to save things that I might not have time to really dive into, and I just want to save for later. So from a user perspective, that's how the list feature works. From a brand's perspective or a blogger's perspective or a publisher's perspective, if you create a list, it allows you to take a user essentially on a Stumble journey. So when we talk about lists, remember that we're not talking about like a BuzzFeed style list. A list on StumbleUpon is a collection of pages. So basically, you can use your own content, or you can use content from around the web and basically package it into a list. And when you save that list and when you share that list to your readers, to your fans, ultimately what you're able to do is you're able to curate that Stumble journey. So every time that they hit the Stumble button, they're seeing another page based on your recommendation and your theme. And this is a very, very popular product for a diversity of publishers, from food bloggers to Billboard to TechCrunch. You name it. It's another way to give people a very easy way to consume a lot of content and to take them through a web experience.
Excellent. So I think what I heard you say is when you create a list, like, recipes I love, and, I'm out there and I'm stumbling along and I see, I didn't mean it that way, but you know what I mean? I'm stumbling and I see some recipes that I like and I put them on my recipe list, and I got, a few hundred people who follow that list. The next thing you know, they're seeing those recipes as well?
Sure. So there's two ways to benefit from lists. There's the notion that if I follow a list, I'm going to begin to see some of those recommendations during a traditional Stumble journey, a traditional Stumble session, which means you're stumbling all interests. The other thing to do is that I could just stumble that list. So there's two paths to sort of discover that list. One is a very direct way, and one is a more indirect way if you do choose to follow the list.
I see. Does Stumble put any merit towards the lists that have a larger number of followers?
I think, the way that Stumble really gives merit is on quality content. And the way that works is we're going to, sample content, or users are going to find content via lists, and content that gets the highest engagement, which means people use that thumb up button, or we know that they're engaging with the content for a long time. So looking at sort of a time on site metric, or when people do share using the Stumble toolbar. Those are the key sort of things that we look at, and those are the key sort of quote unquote merit drivers. So the answer is, if more people see your content on StumbleUpon and more people engage with it, yes, there is a very high chance that more and more people will see that content through the sort of traditional sessions. Correct.
That's great. And StumbleUpon is one of those things that it is a social media platform. Is that right?
I think that in certain senses it is. The beauty of StumbleUpon is that you can use the platform and get a great experience if you choose not to be social, but the platform begins to enhance itself when you choose to become part of the community, when you take advantage of all the features, and when people, when you can leverage both our community and leverage the product from sort of an idea sourcing perspective. And when you share links as Stumble links, it's another really great practice and another good way to be part of the community.
And when you say share links, as you're talking about like on other social media platforms, like
exactly,
on Twitter and things like that.
Yeah, and so the reason to do that would be multifold, particularly if they're your own links. When people engage with your domain within the StumbleUpon ecosystem, that signals back to our algorithms and our systems that, hey, people like this domain, people are stumbling this domain, and so again, it's just a signal back to say, hey, we should probably be serving more of this because people really do tend to like it and are engaging with it.
So I want to make sure I got that right. I think one of the tips that you're suggesting for a publisher, like a blogger, would be that if you're going to be sharing your content on Twitter anyway, why not share it as you discovered it or as it is on StumbleUpon? Because that way, StumbleUpon will see it as engaged content.
Totally. And, we're not, asking people to do that
a tip. Yeah.
Every link.
Right.
It's the same way that, you would cross-pollinate sort of all of your social.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a good tip, and it's something that we definitely recommend to publishers of all sizes.
So let's talk a little bit about the discovery, because I know that one of the tricks that's kind of different, one of the tips, I guess, that's kind of different about StumbleUpon versus some places is that you got to be careful about how much of your own content that you discover.
Sure. And so, it's sort of, there's a lot of urban legends out there about this, and there's definitely some truth to that. What we're trying to avoid on a platform level is quote unquote people really gaming the system.
Right.
So if we see someone exclusively adding content from a single domain that doesn't stumble, that doesn't use the product, we basically know what they're there for. They're there to try to get, traffic, from StumbleUpon without being part of the community and really without being part of the product experience.
Right.
And so, that it's something that ultimately is a good thing for our users, because we want users to discover, the best of everything, and not someone who's just good at quote unquote gaming or has a lot of time to submit every single piece of content without being actively part of our community. There's also sort of this notion of asking all of my, I should ask all my friends to engage with my content on StumbleUpon as well. Again, it's not something that we discourage, so long as your friends and the people that you're asking these favor of are part of the community, and they're not only engaging with a select number of domains, but they're actively promoting not only their domains, their friends' domains, but other great content that they find and discover via StumbleUpon.
So what you're saying then is that if you're going to be a part of a group where you're all collaborating and helping each other because you're enthusiastic about food and food blogs and the content and everything, that group should be people who are all actively involved in StumbleUpon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, what we have to have sort of measures in place against sort of the spamming like behavior.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, what we're out to do is really serve our users and make sure that we're serving great content to them on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that it seems to me like your main goal is making sure you're delivering good content to your audience.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
That's why people come to StumbleUpon. Without strong recommendations and without personalized recommendations, there'd be limited need for our product.
And bloggers get that because that's what they're trying to do as well.
100%.
Yeah. And so I'm so glad that you brought up this concept of the urban legend, because I do think there are a few of those about StumbleUpon, and one that I have heard in the past, and that is if you discover content that for StumbleUpon, and discover, we should clarify, you can go into StumbleUpon and you can give it a thumbs up, like if you're on a page and it's already been discovered, which means put into the StumbleUpon system for the first time. That's called a discovery. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay.
We could call it a discovery. We could call it sort of the first to submit a specific URL.
Okay.
And it's definitely something that is important, because what we want to do is we want to identify people that are quote unquote experts, and we actually have expert status on StumbleUpon. And if you are consistently quote unquote discovering new content and the first to add it in its content that resonates with our community, it just means that we're building more trust with you. Right. And that when you submit content in the future, we know that you're here to play ball. We
Right.
know that you have a strong track record, and we take your submissions more seriously.
Yeah, that's great. So, in the days before the platform that StumbleUpon is on now is, what was that, 2012 that was launched?
Um, I don't know
In
the
that
date
time frame,
offhand.
yeah.
Yeah, a few years
But
back.
before then, it was almost kind of like a competition for people to be the first one to discover this great content, because if it went, viral on StumbleUpon, then the theory was that you got good StumbleUpon juju. So it
Yeah,
sounds like there's some truth to that.
there's some truth to that, and it's something that we think about on a product level regularly, and something that I think that the conversation isn't over yet.
Ah,
So
I actually like that. It kind of gets my competitive juices flowing.
we love it.
Like, ooh, I want to be the first one to discover some really good content. That's great.
That sounds great to us.
That's good. Okay, so the other thing I was going to talk to you about is, you know, when I'm discovering my own content, like let's say, I have some content, I really am urgent to get it into StumbleUpon, so I go ahead and put it in there myself. Is there any way to pick the photo that goes along with that StumbleUpon content, or is that something that just automatically happens from StumbleUpon?
Right now, that will automatically happen. Generally speaking, we will be sort of scraping the page and pulling the largest image. So at the moment, that's the way that the system works. It's something that we're aware of, and something that that does come up, and you know we're a tech product, so
Yeah,
we're never done building. So it's something that possibly might be changed in the future.
great.
But
So,
so then the tip there, for would be, if you're optimizing your pages for StumbleUpon, whatever that sort of leading hero image would be the one that will likely show up on the tiles within StumbleUpon.
so most often it's going to be that very first image that's going to be the one that shows up.
The first, or I'd say the first and biggest image.
Ah, great. Okay, usually that's a very good tip. It's good to know. So you recently launched this new Stumble Bloggers program. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, yeah. Firstly, we're so pumped.
Yeah, I
This
am
was
too.
a project that we launched in December, and it came out of a need to help the blogging community. Bloggers spend a ton of time perfecting their blogs, and trying to build their audience. And one of the beauties of StumbleUpon is that we're going to serve users content from all over the place, again, based on their interests. And, I know that we're talking to a lot of food bloggers. Food is a very, very popular interest on StumbleUpon, because one of the great things we're good at StumbleUpon is really preserving the life of content. And, evergreen content traditionally does really well on StumbleUpon.
I
We are
agree.
not the
Yes.
place to go to for breaking news. But if you're looking for great recipes, StumbleUpon's an amazing place. And I always say to partners, again, or publishers of all kinds, a great apple pie recipe that's a year old is still a great apple pie recipe. So that's something, again, that would do quite well within the StumbleUpon environment. So ultimately, back to the Stumble Bloggers program, we launched it to help promote the content from the blogging community. And what we did is we leveraged the list product again, and instead of us relying on a single person to build that list, we basically made it a community exercise. And so what we would do is we pick a theme, and we've continued the program, and just today we launched a theme around dogs. But we'd pick a theme, and we would ask the blogging community and the content creator community to submit a page based on that theme. And some of the first StumbleBlog programs, we had 900 plus submissions. So
Wow.
it was an amazing and a super encouraging participation rate. And what ends up happening is we're then able to showcase that list and all this great blogger content to our community, by way of featuring it within the StumbleUpon product, by taking advantage of some of our other marketing channels, such as social media and email, And in addition to sort of our efforts, bloggers were also participating in the promotion of these lists, and connecting not only with StumbleUpon, connecting with their fans, but connecting with each other. And so that's really the genesis of the program. Last month, we did a program with the site Greatest around healthy living. And so we thought that there was an opportunity to bring in appropriate publishing partners to help even further amplify the efforts. And so the way that one worked was, Greatest was a marketing partner to help spread the word to new bloggers, but also at the end of the project, they went back and looked at the list, and then they pulled out some of their favorite submissions and created some editorial around that. And so it's just another way to help and recognize bloggers that are doing great work. Just today, I just mentioned that we wrapped up our February Stumble Bloggers program, All Things Dogs.
Yeah.
We partnered with BarkBox, the Bark Post, and TAC. And so it was a very similar execution to Greatest, and we're excited to see those submissions. And I haven't actually had the chance yet to stumble the full list, but that should be making its way around the internet, and we hope everyone will check it out. And the best way to find it is just searching the hashtag StumbleBloggers on Twitter, or heading over to stumble.it/allthingsdogs. So the program's growing. We've got a lot of positive feedback. We've got some great key learnings, and this is going to be a core part of our community approach, and a core opportunity to help bloggers, to engage with bloggers, to learn from bloggers, and just based on who a lot of bloggers are. We're really, really pumped to do some things in the food space. We think that there's almost limitless potential in food, and I can't announce anything right now, but there's some major plans underway to do some great food programs with a bevy of pretty incredible partners. And so stay tuned for that, and obviously we hope that everyone will not only participate, but hopefully discover some new content and become really part of our Stumble Blogger family.
I think that's great to hear, Adam, because I'm sorry, did I say Adam?
Yeah,
I confused you with the other Levine. Yes. Okay, I think let me try that again. That's great to hear, Andrew, because I think there's, a lot of excitement about working with StumbleUpon from food bloggers. And I saw that from my end. A lot of people were excited. And then they kind of felt that, there were 900 submissions, and it's easy to, wonder if they got any impact from that. But I think what I'm hearing you say is, stay a part of the program, keep working at it, keep building up that good Stumble juju, and the program's just going to continue to build.
Yeah, it's going to continue to build, and I'd say continue to evolve. And we're very, very open to suggestions from anyone, and anyone that has a good idea. We'd be interested to hear it. So part of our journey is to make sure that not only is this program useful for our community, but useful for our participants in the blogging community.
Yeah, I guess I would say that's been my experience, is that you all are very responsive, and I feel like you're either talking to me today because I annoyed you to death, or just because I reached out and you guys responded, and next thing you know, we're talking and you're looking for feedback. That was really great.
Yeah, we try our best to answer every single email, and we're in the consumer business. We're living in that the customer service sort of economy, the thank you economy, and we understand that it takes a lot of effort to be a blogger, and we're a distribution platform that's here to help and support you guys, and learn from you guys, and hopefully you guys can learn from us as well.
Does the StumbleUpon URL shortener still exist?
No, if you share content from StumbleUpon, from the web toolbar, or from our apps, you'll see a Stumble link that was shared. But it was a product decision some time back to focus our efforts on other things, and the shortener really just sort of was not a priority. So again, the best way to share links as Stumbles is after you submit them. It's a quick cut and paste of the URL from your likes page.
That, and I'd also like to say from the mobile app, there is a share button, so I can just share it onto Twitter from there.
Absolutely. You can share it to a host of different platforms, and
yeah.
Yes.
Why did I just say Twitter? Because you can share it to whatever you've got.
We like Twitter. We like Twitter, but
on your phone.
Yeah, you can share to sort of all of the obvious players, and as the sharing ecosystems evolve, we'll make sure to include the partners that are most important and the platforms that are most important to our community.
Excellent. So I just wanted to clarify: are there some StumbleUpon no-nos that publishers need to be aware of?
The biggest no-no is if you're using an account and you're submitting only URLs from a single domain, and that's not an active account. Mm-hmm. We're gonna know that it's there's some foul play, if you will. Right. So that's just something that we highly discourage. What we do encourage, though, is creating an active account, taking advantage of the list feature, and really submitting high quality content, because ultimately high quality content and high quality submissions give you what you would be calling that sort of stumble upon juju.
Yeah, great. And what would be the things that would help? I think maybe you just answered that question already, is that if I wanted to build a good juju, I think we talked about, discovering some posts that go viral, good quality posts. Are there other things that I've heard some people say you should spend a minimum of 15 minutes a day on StumbleUpon actually just stumbling?
We actually recommend 15 minutes every hour stumbling.
I love it. That's great. I bet you do recommend that, don't you?
We do.
That would build some good juju, wouldn't it?
We would love that.
Yeah. But you don't have any minimum daily requirements like that, huh?
Oh, no. There's no daily requirements. Just the requirement is sort of an active profile and, an active account. And active, means different things to different people. And we understand that not all days are treated the same. So, so long as the behavior doesn't feel spammy, it probably isn't.
Very good. Okay, so another thing I was going to ask you, let's imagine that there's a listener out there that is fairly new to using Stumble. Do you have some resources to help them get started?
Sure. We have two key resources, I would say. The first is our StumbleUpon Partner Playbook, which is available at stumble.it/partner playbook. A very hopefully easy name to remember. And the second that does a really good job of explaining not only sort of our product, but the StumbleUpon advertising product is ads.stumbleupon.com. It's a brand new site. It's beautiful. It gives a lot of a strong overview, of sort of what our platform does, and also sort of obviously talks in depth about how our ads platform is unique in the market.
Great. I will leave both of those links in the show notes page so people can find that easily. But that's a great segue. Let's talk a little bit about ads, because there is a potential for publishers to promote their content on StumbleUpon. Is that right? Absolutely.
So the way that StumbleUpon generates revenue and can keep its doors open is through a native ad platform. And the way that works is that we reserve between 5 and 10% of Stumbles to be sponsored. And the biggest differentiator from advertising on StumbleUpon versus elsewhere is there is no ad unit, there is no social post. What you're doing is you are putting whatever URL you decide in front of a registered user based on targeting parameters. So it gives you the entire sort of 100% share of voice, because when you're stumbling and they make it to your page, it's going to be your whole page. And so it's up to you as the creator, the blogger, the publisher, the brand, to effectively build something that people want to engage with. And it's a real positive for our users as well as our advertisers. And once a piece of content makes it into our StumbleUpon system, whether it comes in organically or it comes in through an advertising campaign, that content is content, and we're going to treat that content the same way. And good content that comes in through ads is going to see earned potential and potentially a really long life cycle within StumbleUpon. So again, we offer different targeting. So if you're a food blogger, we have interest bundles of people that have said and raised their hand or said, I'm interested in food. So it gives you the ability to again put your domain in front of users. And best of all, we also offer a skip cushion of 5 seconds. So if people are not on your page for at least 5 seconds, you're not charged for that stumble.
Oh, that's great.
And there's a ton of case studies available on that ads.stumbleupon.com site, and I think it's only a $10 minimum spend. So not only can you use it to grow your audience and get your content in front of people, it's another interesting practice that publishers will use our ad platform to test content to test different pages from their site against each other to understand which kind of formats are resonating best with our community, and then they're able to sort of continue to tailor their content to make sure it's potentially the highest engaging formats.
So that's interesting, because I was thinking that on StumbleUpon paid program that you were actually putting your site out there, but you can pick particular posts that you want to promote.
Yeah, I mean, we would actually discourage just base level domains. The homepage is essentially dead in the sort of in the modern sort of internet of social. So what we would really recommend, figuring out what are your top pages, your top recipes, whatever they might be, and running those pages. And then what we're able to do is offer you analytics and reporting and across those pages, and depending on the campaign size, we actually also offer the ability to sort of auto-optimize the campaign as well.
See, the one way I could see a blogger could use that is sometimes they get sponsored posts, and that means, I don't know, some brand could come along and say, we'll pay you so much money to produce this post. And of course, that brand is always wanting statistics. And of course, the blogger wants to present, great statistics to their brand. And so they pay for promotion of that post with StumbleUpon. And at the same time, they get a lot of great statistics to show to their brand.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common practice, and
great.
It's a very common practice, and ultimately, distribution is equally as important as great content, because great content without an audience, it goes unseen. So yeah, it's a good practice. And if the content's great, whether it's brand sponsored or not, the content's great.
Exactly, right. And so I've seen some things that would suggest that you want to kind of put your best foot out there. Like you don't want to pick, maybe you've got something that's performing worse than you thought it would, like a post that you did that you thought was going to take off and it never did. But you've got another post that's going crazy. That would be the one you'd actually want to promote and help it go even further.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason you do that is because if we see higher engagement on that second post, there's a much, much, much higher opportunity for earned traffic after the campaign runs out. So, again, back to the great apple pie, if you sponsor a post and it's a great apple pie recipe, 6 months, a year later, if it's a great recipe and it's a great piece of content, we're going to want to show it to our users based on that alone.
Okay, so at the end of the interview here, I've got just a few questions that I want to, some fun questions I want to share with you.
Bring it on.
Okay. Your name is kind of similar to a famous musical celebrity. Do you oftentimes get confused for Adam?
Oh, all the time. Funny story. When I was at Google in my prior job, I somehow became one of the celebrity handholders. And when we were doing a project with Maroon 5 and Adam Levine, I was the sort of the Google tour guide for him. So it was the Levine Bros on parade.
You guys had a good time with it then, huh?
Yes, we did.
It's interesting because I just interviewed Kristen Doyle, who's with the site Dine and Dish, and she got to go on a trip with another bloggy friend, and she actually got to meet Adam. So it's kind of funny that this interview or this podcast series has now included two people who have met Adam. Maybe he'll be on the podcast one day.
We'll get him on for you. I'll give him a ring.
Excellent. What's the one food item you cannot live without?
Oh, you're going to hate me for this one because you're author of a vegan blog.
That's okay. I can take it.
I think my favorite three. I can't prioritize one, but
Okay.
these are my favorites, not the ones I can't live without. But a world-class veal parm with the cheese browned is on the list. The second, and now you're really going to hate me, is foie gras. I love foie gras. And the last are South Florida stone crabs.
Oh my gosh, not everything is meat for you.
Well, do stone crabs count as meat, or there's some kind of meat, but they have great mustard sauce, and the mustard sauce isn't meat. Sorry.
I'll stick with the mustard sauce.
I like asparagus too. And
Asparagus. Now that I can talk with you about asparagus.
well cooked mushrooms.
But gotta love mushrooms. Yes.
Gotta love mushrooms.
Yeah. If you're a vegan, you pretty much have to like mushrooms, I think.
I mean, just good morel mushrooms are about as good as foie gras, so I will put those high on the list.
Yeah. I'm in Missouri, and those grow wild out here. So
I'm from Missouri.
Oh, that's right, St. Louis, right?
Yeah, but I never found any morels.
I think they're kind of finicky. I guess I don't know. They don't like to come out in the open a lot.
No.
Yeah. So okay, we'll be on the same page on morel mushrooms. But I have to admit, it's nice to have somebody say something besides chocolate. So that's good.
I love chocolate too.
I do too. It's high on my list.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite online resource?
So I guess my favorite online resources, of course, are our products because they help us find other great online resources. Essentially, that's what we're in the business to do, and I couldn't help but give our products StumbleUpon and 5by big shameless plugs. Otherwise, I'm a big sort of media, sort of advertising, publishing junkie. So big fan of Digiday, big fan of Adweek and Ad Age. I love the sort of the pubs that focus on entrepreneurship and company culture. So Inc., Fast Company, Entrepreneur Magazine are all really sort of in my sort of my daily reads. The last one is a new platform that has been blossoming out of the Atlantic. It's called This, and I'd call it a Twitter style community where you can only add one piece of content every single day. And right now I believe it's an invite-only community, but they do an amazing job with their daily email, because what they're doing is they're synthesizing sort of a lot of interesting people's sort of one recommendation for the day, and then they're curating based upon that. I don't know if other people are on this as a platform yet. I think I have a few invites left, so if anyone has made it into the 50th minute of the show and wants an invite, you can tweet at me at AND Levine, and if I have any left, I'd be happy to invite you.
That's awesome. And that's this as in THIS?
Yeah, I think it's this.cm, I believe. But I can follow up with you in a bit. Yeah, it's a cool platform. It's emerging, and it's a great way to find sort of more news centric stuff, and so is a complementary sort of. It's a nice side dish to stumble upon in 5by.
Sounds like it. Andrew, how can people connect with you online?
Sure. You can send me an email to alevine@stumbleupon.com. I'm a huge LinkedIn junkie, so you're more than welcome to add my LinkedIn profile, which is I think LinkedIn whatever it is /AND Levine, and I'm also AND Levine on Twitter. So whatever method is your choice. I'm I'm available through all three.
Andrew, thanks so much for joining me today. I really had a great time talking with you.
Good. So did I. Thanks so much for having me. I'm looking forward to my next vegan feast the next time I'm back home in Missouri. Thanks again for everyone that tuned in. That's made it through the 45 or 50 minutes or whatever it's been. Thank you to everyone that's participated in Stumble Bloggers. If you haven't, we'd love to have you. And thanks again for the continued support. And hopefully we'll be connecting with a whole handful of you guys.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks so much to Andrew Levine for being my guest on today's episode of the Chopped Podcast. If you like the Chopped Podcast, here's a couple of ways you can pay it forward. Leave a review on iTunes, and that'll help the show get more traction. It means a lot. Also, our goal is to spread the word. So if today's show spoke to you in some way or another, maybe it made you think of someone you wanted to share it with, please tell a friend. That friend-to-friend referral, it means so much. If you have something you want to share with me directly, maybe it's a question that you have about food blogging or a topic that you're interested in seeing the show cover, or maybe it's just some feedback that you have about the show itself, I would love to hear from you. Head over to choppedcon.com and click on Contact. You inspire me, so I hope today's show was helpful and inspirational to you as well. Thanks for listening and have a great week.